Welcome to Oscar Sunday. I'm Austin Johnson.
I'm Connor Eyzaguirre.
And today, before we get going, I want to talk about a couple people that have passed away recently who mean a whole lot to Connor and I. First, let's talk about James Caan, the man, the myth, the legend. Simply one of my favorite, just the super masculine, dominant male actors of all time. We just talked about him about a month ago on our Godfather episode, and we both talked about how much we love Sonny Corleone. I'm not on our main Wednesday Filmgazm podcast very often, but one that I was on a little while back was an episode I chose, a movie I chose, and it was Thief, 1981, Michael Mann movie with James Caan, Jimmy, and Rollerball and The Gambler, and all the way to stuff like Bottle Rocket and Elf. I fucking love this guy so much. And, there's this generation of actors and actresses that are just inevitably going to leave Earth at some point. And it seems like they're kind of racking up really fast. And this year has been rough as far as if you're a cinephile, if you're a big movie fan, it's just rough. It's not fun to hear about this stuff. But I do think it's always important to just kind of honor them, even if Jimmy Caan wasn't the easiest guy to work with, and had his demons, as we all do. I think his talent and his swagger and everything that he just kind of stood for on screen was so impressive, and he's a legend. He's a legend lost for sure.
Yeah, Jimmy from the Bronx. Gonna miss him forever. He had this aggressive quality. Like, he just looked like someone you wouldn't want to fuck with.
Yeah.
And he brought that to every performance. I know a lot of our generation knows him from Elf.
Yeah.
And, he's, as I think Walter Hobbs was the character.
Yeah.
And he's just, even then, just such a gruff, hard, unapproachable figure, but with a heart of gold. There was always that heart of gold. And I remember I recently watched a 90s action film called Eraser for the first time.
Ah, yeah.
And it wasn't the best movie. I mean, there's a scene where Arnold shoots a gator in the face and says, "Your luggage." So it's not exactly A+ material, but James Caan plays the villain, plays Arnold's intelligence buddy who's actually selling secrets. And he's the best part of the movie. Caan is just this great character actor who could play slimy, he could play heroic, he could do everything. And I'm gonna miss him. He was, one of the last few pieces of the original Godfather still with us. And rest in peace.
Yeah, and I'll let you talk about the next guy. I think you have a deeper connection to him than I do. So I know today's been rough for you because we're recording on Friday. So this news is a little bit fresher to us right now than you'll hear this on Sunday. So Paulie.
Yeah, Tony Sirico. This was a shock. I'm a big Sopranos fan, and I know you are too.
Yeah.
And Paulie Walnuts was one of the best characters on that show. Just an absolute idiot, but also a monster, and fiercely loyal. Like one of the few people of Tony Soprano's family who didn't fuck him over at one point. He was the guy, and he just, that coiffed hair, the white streaks, the fucking spray tan, he was just, he was everything you pictured an Italian mobster in 1999 looking like.
Yeah.
He played that role so well. I was a huge fan. I didn't know he was as old as he was. He was 79 when he passed. And just one of those guys you kind of just think, oh, he'll always be there. He'll always be around. He's Paulie Walnuts. Nothing's gonna happen to Paulie. He made it out of the show alive. He'll be fine.
Exactly. Yeah. He got through 7 seasons of The Sopranos.
So that was just a big shock, and I've been kind of down in the dumps all day since I heard about that. It's been like, fuck. So
Yeah.
I wanted to, shout out two awesome alpha male badass actors who gave us some great work.
Yeah, truly. And it's just crazy how on this show, it seems like we'll talk about someone and then shortly after we'll get this like devastating news. It's happened a few times this year, and it's just fucking weird. And these guys who do really well at some point, like for Jimmy Caan, just one of the greatest 70s runs of anybody in the industry. And it's like, yeah, I mean, that was 50 years ago. So, you just think about it. You're like, well, this guy was probably in his 30s or 40s while he's doing all this stuff, while he's playing Sonny. And inevitably they're going to leave. They're going to leave this place. Death is a part of life, and fucking sucks. It's not the best stuff to talk about, but it also is cool again to honor them, kind of like a memoriam type thing. And we always try to do that when we can on our shows. And Jimmy Caan, especially, he's an Oscar guy. He's nominated for The Godfather, and I gave my award to him. My Tarantino award was like dedicated to him, and I'll always remember that, and I'll keep watching his movies forever. That guy kicked ass. And Paulie is undoubtedly one of the funniest characters on The Sopranos. He is, like you said, those episodes on It's Always Sunny where they're like making fun of them. Like, he's like the prototype with like the tracksuit, and he has the like when he's sitting outside, like drinking his coffee, smoking a cigarette, he has like the mirror so he can tan. It's just like, what? This guy's incredible, like incredibly well written, incredibly well executed character. He was the man, and he just used his hands a lot and got real animated. Incredible stuff. He makes me smile.
I love the confidence in which he would tell stories he knows nothing about. Like when he's talking about Sun Tzu, and he's like, "Oh yeah, Sun Tzu, the guy, like the art of war. I know everything about that." Like, and everyone knows he's full of shit, but he's too high up in the family for them to call him on it. It's wonderful. And he just, and when he would, snap, I mean, dear God, like he would be scary.
Game time. Yeah.
Yeah. For that, they have that kind of, back and forth, that internal struggle really kind of represented what that show was about. And I loved him.
Hell yeah, man. Yeah. Had to open the show with that. Even though we have a massive episode here. It's episode 110. Good God. Here we are. We're doing another Best Picture Showdown. We've done a lot of these now, and we kind of have our footing, I think, with just how much fun and seamless these episodes seem to come for Connor and I. And this one's really interesting. It's 1986, the 59th Academy Awards. It saw Platoon win 4 Oscars at the ceremony, including Best Picture, of course. It beat Children of the Lesser God, Hannah and Her Sisters, The Mission, and A Room with a View. We'll rank those movies in a little while. We're also going to look at the 59th Academy Awards and go through some categories at the end. But before we dig into Platoon properly, this is your first time watching it, and we've hinted at this more than any other movie on this entire show. I remember when we did the Lighthouse episode, we were doing top 5 Willem Dafoe performances, and my brother Jeremy, God bless him, he had Platoon. He had Sergeant Elias as one of his 5 favorite Willem Dafoe performances, and you were like, "Oh, I haven't seen that," and he was like, "What?" And it was the exact same reaction I had when I found out year or two ago when I knew you hadn't seen this, and I was like, "Oh man, this is just right up Connor's alley." So I still haven't talked to you about what you think about the movie. So you watched it today.
Yes.
We're recording right now. What'd you think of 1986, Oliver Stone's Platoon?
Well, first of all, this is a monumentous day in Filmgazm Productions history. I have seen Platoon. We did it.
Here I am. We can stop now.
Mission accomplished. It was good. It was interesting. It was very dark. And
Yeah.
I love the subject matter of, showing the dark side of Vietnam. There's so many war movies, especially, out of Hollywood, are so fucking American propaganda, woohoo, eagle American flag bullshit. So I liked seeing that, just like, yeah, it was a vicious, inhuman war that destroyed so much innocence. And I'm also a big fan of Tropic Thunder, and I didn't realize how many lines from that fucking movie are from Platoon. So I was laughing at things like when the machine breaks down, we break down.
Yeah.
I had to pause, and I just was laughing my ass off because I always thought that was from Tropic Thunder.
You're like, oh, Tropic Thunder is paying homage.
Now
little satire.
I see so much more in that movie now, which is just great. I don't think it's my favorite Vietnam movie. I don't understand why some people consider it to be. I thought there were too many characters.
Yeah.
I think we could have trimmed that down a bit. But I did have a lot to like about it. I haven't reviewed it yet, but I do plan on giving it an 8. And it was good. I liked it. So
yeah, that's good. That's good. I've owned this movie for my older brother Jeremy, again, to name drop. He owned this when we were growing up, and so I watched it with him sometime probably in 8th or 9th grade. And it blew my mind for sure. But it was kind of a take it or leave it, like, yeah, it's good, but I'm not gonna, go around to my friends and say you have to see this movie. And so I've always been like, I think it's one of the weaker Best Picture winners I've seen. I always kind of just had that assumption. But then watching it last night, just kind of, had all the lights off, and I was by myself and got to just kind of turn off and watch this crazy dark and intense, but really entertaining movie. I like kind of fell in love with it, and I have a whole new perspective on it. And I read a lot about Oliver Stone today, about he fought in this war, 1967. He was in the 25th Infantry, and saw this firsthand. A lot of these characters are based on people he knew, and the experiences he had of the kind of hellhole that was, Vietnam, the Vietnam War. So thought that was really cool. And then I made the connection, like, oh, well, yeah, he's the guy who also did Born on the 4th of July. And then I was like, oh yeah, and he also directed Heaven and Earth. So he has a Vietnam trilogy dedicated to his time serving over there. So crazy, that he does that and then comes back. He served in 1967, and then shortly after, in the early 70s, he started making movies. Then the 80s, he really started clicking, and he makes Salvador, Platoon, Wall Street, Talk Radio, Born on the 4th of July, The Doors, JFK, Heaven and Earth, Natural Born Killers, Nixon, U-Turn, Any Given Sunday, World Trade Center, W, Savages. Like, this guy just hasn't stopped. And he's a veteran. He's a proper veteran. There is no documentation or historical evidence that a Vietnam veteran who actually not was just in the army, but like fought on the ground in Southeast Asia, he was there. And there's no documentation of someone like him making a movie. And so this is a historical kind of film, I think. And it just gave me a whole new respect for him and for this film itself. I'm with you. I do think there are a lot of characters at play here, and the movie's it's only 2 hours. It's short for Oliver Stone, and I would be okay with it taking another 30 or 45 minutes to use some time for development, because it's really entertaining. It's really really dark, but it's gorgeous, if that makes sense. The lighting is crazy good. The cinematography is off the chain. The production design is so surreal, and I would be okay with watching more of this, being in this world a little bit more, getting more from Keith David's King character. I love that character. I wish I could have got a little more. Johnny Depp, his character Lerner, who is like a translator. I would love to get to know more about him. So I'm with you. I do think it has its issues, and I've read negative reviews about it, this and that, and that it could be looked at as some kind of propaganda. But for me, I'm not someone who's fought at any given point for our country. Probably never will, you know. So these movies are kind of a look into this kind of a life, even if that's far fetched. That's just how I kind of view them. So I'm not crazy about this kind of subgenre of war films. I don't have a lot of favorites, but this is up there. This is up there for me. So I'm very excited to talk about it, give it some awards. But yeah, I thought that Oliver Stone stuff was fascinating.
I had no idea he was a veteran on the ground. That really paints Platoon in a completely different light. Like, it makes me wonder how much of that came from a real place, and that's frightening. I don't. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, there's some scenes where they, I mean, they completely destroy a village, you know, and just leave it for dead. And it a lot of American perspective war movies will be like, we fought the good fight and we helped those people in the village. When Oliver Stone's like, no, we're like, when you're in war, you're a monster, you're an animal, and that's like what's happening. At one point, you have Charlie Sheen, you have Taylor saying, "Animals, you're all animals." You know, he's coming to that realization of like what war does to a person, like what it can do, what it's capable of. It's something you can kind of talk about and think about forever.
Yeah, for sure. And I love that Stone, you know, you can't say anything about like, you know, oh, you don't know what it was like, or you know, you're lying. Like, no, man, like he was there. And that's just, yeah, I gotta watch it again. I want to watch Platoon again now with that mindset. So maybe that'll happen soon.
Yeah, and when you know what's gonna come with that, you know, kind of like, you know, a moment I'm talking about. There's a huge moment, like a little over halfway through the film, that when you know it's coming, it's like, man, you really you see Berenger, you see Barnes losing his mind, you know, like, and it's fucking nuts. So yeah, I give it a 9. You know, I really respect this movie, and I changed my mind on it being kind of a quote unquote weaker Best Picture winner, or not as good as other stuff from the year. You know, I'd stack this right up against my favorite movies from 1986: Aliens, The Fly, Blue Velvet. It's right up there. It's just as good.
You know, it's interesting because I'm kind of at the place you were when you first saw it. Like, those are pretty much my thoughts right now. That, like, I wouldn't rank it among the best. I don't know if I'd recommend it. Like, I'm glad I watched it, but is this like a monumental classic in my head? I don't think so yet. But maybe this is one of those films that requires multiple viewings to fully appreciate. And we know that we've come across those. So,
oh yeah.
This is one I want to revisit for my, like, just in my own personal time. Because yeah, right now I'm thinking like I've seen better, but you know, I don't know.
Aren't you working your way through all of Oliver Stone's stuff?
Not like
intentionally, but
yeah, not like as a project, just gradually when I come across it. So yeah, I've seen a good chunk of his work.
Maybe once you get to that end, you finish that, maybe come back around to Platoon. I don't know.
Yeah, that might be a good idea.
Yeah, because you like Born the 4th of July, right?
I do. That's a fantastic movie.
Yeah, I like that one a lot too. I've always thought, like, why haven't we done that on a 4th of July like weekend? We will one day. We will.
I think we had one year where 4th of July was on a Sunday and we didn't do it.
Yeah. We will one day. I think my thing was like early on, it was, oh well, for Halloween, let's do this scary movie, and for Easter, let's do this Bible related movie. It's like, we have forever. We don't have to do it all in one year, you know. Yeah. we can take it easy, you know. It's gonna be all right. But yeah, man, I'm glad you've seen it now. You know that Platoon is on your resume. So let's dive right in. Let's talk about Platoon, what we really dig about it, give it some awards, and then we'll move from there. So you know the drill. Tarantino for best quote, Ennio Morricone for best music moment or piece of score, the Philip Seymour Hoffman for the best performance of the movie, and the Roger Deakins for the best scene of the movie. So I'll let you kind of take it away here with your Tarantino. Really well written movie. It
is very well written. The dialogue is very real. I loved Charlie Sheen's voiceovers.
Okay.
Yeah.
What did you think about that? I forgot to bring that up. So obviously we have the other Sheen, 1979, Apocalypse Now, doing the narration. A lot of people think this is like a, what are you trying to do there? You're trying to use the other Sheen? Yeah. And it's, it's Vietnam. It's only 7 years later. I just think that's a really interesting choice.
I don't. All right. So Stone doesn't seem like the kind of guy to like, rip anybody off or homage anybody. I feel like he's very much in his own work. So I don't think that was intentional. Now, like if there was another Vietnam War movie, like starring Emilio Estevez, and he did it, then I'd be like, okay. But I don't think so in this case.
Emilio?
Did you ever see Hot Shots Part 2?
I have not. I need to though.
There's a scene. Charlie Sheen
that's the like Rambo parody, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's a scene where Charlie Sheen, they mock that exact situation. Charlie Sheen's the star. He's in Vietnam. He's doing his voiceover. And all of a sudden, Martin Sheen comes over in his boat as his character from Apocalypse Now doing his voiceover. And they look at each other and they're like, and then it clicks and they both go at the same time. I loved you in Wall Street. They give each other a thumbs up. It's one of the most meta movie scenes in history, and I love it.
That's fantastic. Good shout.
But yeah, I did. I liked his voiceover. I like it. It felt like to me the journal of a man who escaped Nam, and him kind of looking back on just everything he was involved in. And I actually knew a guy in high school named Chris Taylor, so that made me laugh. I was like, oh, okay. He wasn't. He wasn't in Nam. I mean, I was.
Yeah. He wasn't born yet, but
he was a senior. I mean, no, he's. He was like 17. I went with Taylor's final voiceover, the last lines of the film, where he's, after everything that's happened, he's being airlifted out and he's just reflecting. And he says, I think now, looking back, we did not fight the enemy. We fought ourselves, and the enemy was in us. The war is over for me now, but it will always be there. The rest of my days, as I'm sure Elias will be, fighting with Barnes for what Raw called possession of my soul. There are times since I felt like the child born of those two fathers. But be that as it may, those of us who did make it have an obligation to build again, to teach to others what we know, and to try with what's left of our lives to find a goodness and a meaning to this life. Fuck, man. Like, now that I know Stone fought this war, that's real. And that's, that's him kind of, bearing his soul and laying it all out there. And I respect the hell out of that. And I just love that he is, there's kind of a mini war happening in this movie between, Barnes's people and Elias's people. And Taylor's just trying to get out of here. Like, he's just trying to live. And I love that he reminds us, like, when we get out, fucking live, like, and be happy you got out. Shit, man.
Yeah.
I can't even comprehend that kind of hell.
No. Oh no. This by all accounts, as far as an American perspective, this is like the roughest war, where it was just gnarly all the time. And
the reason they called it the shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Stuck in the shit. And as much as it gets kind of like, we get a lot, like, our pop culture gets a lot of humor out of it, like back in Nam, I just don't find that too funny when, it really is, just ruined people's mental state and just destroyed people's hope for anything.
Well, I think a big part of why we've been, kind of desensitized to like war in this country. I mean, we have one every like 5 fucking years.
Yeah.
Always, broadcast, but also our films are so gung-ho about it. We have these films like Platoon, Apocalypse Now, Full Metal Jacket, Black Hawk Down. Like, these are huge box office successes. People watch these movies. It becomes almost fictionalized for people who weren't there. It becomes part of pop culture as opposed to part of history. And that's a big problem.
Yeah. Do you ever feel like you contribute to that?
All the time. Like, we're doing it right now.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I was going to say. I think doing like a silly Best Picture Showdown, and while the movie that won, Platoon, is quite serious matter, you know. And yeah, I do think people definitely look into these as if it's a Batman movie. It's like this is not comic book stuff. This is not, you know, these guns are real, you know. It's not kind of these kind, like they're loaded. And man, it's fascinating. It creates such an interesting conversation. I think a movie like this, a movie that it did so well. Its budget was like 6 million and made almost 200 million. You know, just destroyed, and people rave about it. It's interesting.
Yeah, the first movie to ever win Best Picture was a war movie. It's you know, violence is such a part of our culture that unless it like directly happens to you, it doesn't feel like it's real. And I think, you know, there's myself included, I've never had anything like that horrible happen to me or, you know, anybody I know about. So to me, it's somewhat fictionalized. But I know that if, you know, if I had close family who died in, you know, my grandpa was in Vietnam, but he didn't really see combat and he came out relatively unscathed. He tells me stories all the time. So it doesn't feel as horrific to me personally as it would to somebody whose, you know, father was killed in Vietnam.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's any way to really like rectify that, or it's just part of our upbringing. And yeah, I don't know. It's just part of American nature.
Yeah. Yeah. Super interesting. Man. Yeah. I didn't know, you know, we picked this movie. I'll admit being kind of guilty of just kind of thinking, oh, this will be just another good episode. But this is the first time we've really, I think, talked about this on this show, like really dug into something like this.
But like, you know, I mean, we've covered a few of these. I mean, like The Godfather, you know, the mob violence is real. People were killed by the mob. Like that's a real thing. I mean, you know, we did Black Hawk Down, like you know, that situation in Somalia killed a lot of people. That was a horrific moment. But these aren't documentaries. You know, these are dramatizations. So I feel like it's a different thing talking about the film as it is, you know, than it is to talking about what actually happened. Like in that case, yeah, we shouldn't be glorifying it. We shouldn't be, you know, making jokes about it. But this is a fictional situation, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's where you can kind of draw the line, or at least that's where I draw the line. Like if I was, you know, one day we're going to do Schindler's List on this show, and that's going to be a sad movie, but it also is a bit of a dramatization. Now, if we're doing a documentary on the Holocaust with like actual survivor, you know, stories, then I mean, I wouldn't be comfortable like kind of going into that on a show like this.
Yeah. Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. Yeah. I think we both, like, I think a good example is something like Inglourious Bastards. It's like a movie we both really, really enjoy and both love. I think because it embraces the pulpiness of it and the kind of ways you can go with the fictionalization of this time, a certain time and place in history that everybody's aware of.
Yeah.
But you are allowed to fuck with, and obviously we're both into that, you know, if it's done well. So yeah, I do think there is a time and place to kind of talk about it, and there's a time and place to respect it as well. And I think you can do both at the same time. I think we both are aware of what we're talking about, but also that it's Willem Dafoe and Charlie Sheen. You know, these guys are acting, and we're like allowed to appreciate that.
And that's a big, you said when it's done right, and that's a big part. Like if this was, you know, like if Platoon shows, you know, us winning Vietnam or something and then treats that as fact, then it's like, this is horseshit. Like the movie I think of is The Birth of a Nation from 1915.
Yes. Yeah.
It's about the Civil War, but the Klan are the good guys. That's
some horseshit. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like you got to have some tact, and you got to actually care about the story you're telling. And, you know, you can tap into real events, but if you're going to do that, you got to be graceful.
Yeah. And I think I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, but I do think it's good to recognize that there is just inherent evil all over the world that like humans have a nasty nature about them, and it comes out in certain scenarios. And I think obviously war is one where it becomes necessary for these guys to survive. It's like that nasty nature has to come out, and that's fascinating to watch. Like my Tarantino, you could look at and be like, really, dude? Like it's from Barnes. It's when Barnes knows that all of Elias's people are going to come after him, and he's drinking Jack Daniels out of the bottle with his shirt off, and you can see his dog tags hanging down, and it's like this very like, oh man, look at this big macho dude coming in, and he gets up, and they don't know that he's right there, right? They're like, oh fuck. And Sergeant Barnes says, y'all talking about killing? Y'all experts? Y'all know about killing? I'd like to hear about it, potheads. And then he grabs a pipe from one of the guys and takes a big drag out of it. And you're like, oh my God. And he says, why do you smoke this shit? So as to escape from reality? Me, I don't need this shit. I am reality. There's the way it ought to be, and there's the way it is. Elias was full of shit. Elias was a crusader. Now, I got no fight with any man who does what he's told, but when he don't, the machine breaks down. And when the machine breaks down, we break down. And I ain't going to allow that in any of you, not one. He hands the pipe back and spits on the ground. Y'all love Elias, and you want to kick ass. Yeah? Well, here I am. All by my lonesome, and ain't nobody going to know. 6 of you boys against me, so kill me. I shit on all of you. And then he walks out because no one has the balls to, really do it. Him and Taylor, they have their squabble, but no one really wants to take this guy out. No one really has the balls to go after Barnes, until the end, when no one's looking. And that is the most like macho war movie part of the film is Tom Berenger just hamming it up, and he's like, I'm gonna go for this because this is entertaining. And in my mind, it's the same as what Christoph Waltz is doing in Inglourious Bastards, where he's like, I'm aware of what people find fascinating, yet so evil out of these types of characters and these types of people. And for whatever weird reason, I respect that. I don't know what it is, but I find that to be a fascinating talent to have as an actor.
Well, it's you respecting performance. Like you would never say, like, Adolf Hitler had some interesting, way about thinking. Like that's a very different statement. However,
correct.
Bruno Ganz, who played Hitler in Downfall, did an amazing job. Like that's totally
there you go.
Okay, that's it's fantasy and reality.
I'm not a big Patton fan, but George C. Scott, give me George C. Scott all day.
Yeah, exactly. And I know this is going to sound awfully red of me, but I like a movie that takes America down a few pegs. I like a movie that doesn't show us as, the bald eagle soaring in to save the day. Because most of the time we're the fucking instigator, and we're kind of the monster of the world a lot of times. So I'd like, this movie shows that. And I think Barnes kind of represents like the worst qualities of America, and Elias represents the best. And who wins? I mean, it's vicious, but and Taylor's just kind of trapped in between these two warring ideologies, imperialism versus isolationism. We keep doing a lot of historical movies, and like this just keeps coming out in me, and I love that I can do that here.
This is great. Yeah.
But it's a good scene for Berenger, who I'm so like, I know nothing about his career. Tom Berenger, he's one of those guys that has been doing it for like 40 years, and I think this is it that I've seen of his.
Interesting. There's got to be something. I wondered. I was like, I wonder if Connor's. I know you're a big Dafoe guy. We both are, but The Big Chill, Major League, Inception. I forgot he was in Inception.
I did see Major League, and that was funny. That was good. I forgot about Major League. So I have seen some. Okay.
Yeah. I know there's some older ones that are kind of his. He's been in a lot of TV.
Yeah.
He was in like Law and Order and shit like that.
I watched Gettysburg when I was a kid, and he's one of the major players in that. I don't recommend Gettysburg because it is 4.5 hours long. But it's it's good. If a
Oh yeah, I
movie that
forgot.
long can be good.
He's in Born on the 4th of July. Not a lot, but he's in that as well. I forgot.
It just seems like,
Yeah,
after an Oscar nomination, usually there's like a career bump, and occasionally there's actors who don't have that. And I feel like Berenger didn't quite get that.
yeah. Like he turned to TV more often, like TV movies, TV miniseries,
Defoe
series.
became a superstar from this movie. Berenger kind of fell back in the shadows. And I wonder if
Yeah.
that, like,
Oh
did
yeah.
people just think his character was too fucking evil? Because that can happen.
That's possible, and he's got such a specific look with the scars all over his face, and
Were
he's
those
quite
was that makeup?
he's quite
was
frightening.
Was that Berenger?
No, that's how he looks. Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, he's a rough looking dude.
What happened? Like, how'd that happen? I'm gonna try to find out.
I don't know. Yeah, definitely look that up. Yeah, there's like it looks like just a line coming down his face. It's really wild, and it obviously adds to his Barnes character. Just kind of like, what has this guy been through?
Yeah.
And he has a few scenes where it's like, okay, yeah, this is kind of what you think of when you think of a sergeant in the Vietnam War from the United States side. This guy is just ruthless. He talks about it like it's his war, like there's not other, waves of infantries coming in as his backup or before him. He just thinks this is mine. It's very similar to Patton in that way, where he's like, I am running this. It's like, dude, chill out.
Good news, it is makeup. It was
okay.
It is makeup. Thank God, because I was like, what the hell happened to him?
No, that is good news. That's
Took an hour to apply.
some pretty impressive makeup. Yeah.
Yeah, like I believe that was a real scar.
Obviously, so did I. I was convinced. I was like, no, that's got to be real. It also just fits him. Yeah.
Yeah. God damn.
Yeah. Good stuff. Well, I like the two quotes we picked. I definitely flirted with the one you chose. Just those final lines of the movie before we go to dedicated to all the people who served and died in Vietnam. Good touch.
I had one line I almost had. It was when Taylor's trying the weed for the first time, and Elias tells him, "Feeling good's good enough."
Yeah, I love that.
That should be on a t-shirt. That's a great line.
God, Elias is the man. I'll be talking about him soon. The Ennio Morricone Award. What do you got?
So I'm not gonna lie, the music kind of got on my nerves.
I'm not a big fan of this score. Not a big fan.
It's one piece of music that they just use for every scene. I was like, this is kind of lazy.
Like there's a movie we're going to be talking about later called The Mission. If you put Ennio Morricone as the composer for Platoon, it would take it to a crazy different level, because The Mission without Ennio Morricone falls greatly.
Yeah,
he is the best part of that movie.
That's true.
But if you put him, I would rather have him in Platoon, because then Platoon could be like a masterpiece.
Yeah, sometime, or just maybe a little variety. Maybe the guy who did the music could, like, I don't know.
What's his name? Georges Delerue, I think, is the one who did this movie.
So I picked a moment of that music. I went with the opening credits because I think it tells you right off the bat, this is not going to be like Apocalypse Now. This is not going to be your glorification of war movie. This is going to be a glimpse into hell itself. So buckle up. And I appreciated that. Yeah,
I know exactly what you mean. One of my favorite things about Platoon is that it wastes no time in getting into the shit, and to where we hear, Elias say, no, something's going to happen. Like, something's bound to happen out there. Do you really want this new guy, Chris, Taylor? Do you want him with us when something bad's going to happen? We have to be on watch. And then, of course, something bad happens. Junior falls asleep, and then he says, Taylor's the one who fell asleep. And immediately, the first 10 minutes, you're like, okay, like, I buckle up. You're in for a ride. You're in for a pretty serious take on this war. Not just, it's so much different than a lot of the other Vietnam movies that take their time, do a little bit of character development. There's pros and cons, but I prefer jumping right in. Let's fucking get down nitty gritty and get to where we're going. So I love that. And it makes Taylor seem more disoriented. He's like, whoa, I I went from being like a boy to a man in 10 minutes.
Well, that whole line of like, they don't even want to learn the new people's names because it's not worth the hassle because they're not going to be here that long. It's like, Jesus, I can't imagine being that like detached from just basic social, like it's incredible. But I guess, you have to get to that place where human life is not that valuable or else you can't do this. And that's fucking terrifying. And then, of course, when you come home, you have to you're expected to just wipe that out and go back to being a, regular member of society. That's fucking impossible. It's Jesus, man.
Yeah, fucking nuts, man. Oh, yeah, good. Yeah, even though the score is not great, it gives us these kind of conversations to have. So yeah, it is composed by George S. Delarue, who feel like we've talked about before. I just don't know when. I feel like I remember that name from somewhere. He's got like 400 fucking credits, so I'm not going to go through them all to figure out where I've seen that name. I didn't choose a piece of the only score. I chose White Rabbit by Jefferson Airplane. When Taylor is introduced to all these people who smoke pot in the underworld, and fucking Forrest Whitaker is there, right? Keith David. He says, "What's up, motherfuckers?" And there's Elias hanging out on the hammock eating a banana, and Oliver Stone shows off some of his best stuff in this scene. The camera moves up real close to Elias's face, and he's like, "Feeling pretty good, huh?" Yeah. So it's so good because it's Dafoe. Like, oh man, like the amount of times I've looked into Dafoe's eyes and just gotten this piercing, like, who is this weirdo? And there were times where I was watching Platoon last night, and in my head I couldn't get out, think about it, hero. I couldn't get it out of my head because Dafoe just does that to me, So yeah, White Rabbit's a great song, of course, for the 60s and for smoking pot and psychedelics and all that stuff. So these guys are smoking all kinds of shit and hanging out, trying to have a good time while they're there. It's also a really good transition from Taylor talking to it's Keith David's character, and it's, what is that other fucker's name? It's the other young guy who's like from California, and he's like, "Yeah, the surfing's gonna be great, dude." Yeah. They're talking about how many days they have left, and Taylor's like 392, and they're both like, "Holy shit, you have more than a year left. You've been here for a week, motherfucker." And he's like, "Yeah, he explains that he's from like a good family, went to college, but he wanted to like do something with his life that was more interesting." And I love in Keith David's character is like, yeah, only a rich person can have that perspective. I just thought that scene was so good. And then the Oliver Stone, again, he's so good at nature shots, and also Robert Richardson, cinematographer. There's a wonderful shot of Taylor and the other two gentlemen, because they're digging and taking out basically tubs of shit and pouring them out. And it shows the sunset, and they've had this really long day of working outside, and they get to go hang out and smoke weed. So I love that scene. I think it's like a brilliant scene. And then it goes over to Berenger, and how about fucking John C. McGinley, as O'Neill. These other guys, they're just drinking and smoking and playing cards. So it shows kind of the two sides. You got the hippies and the people who are like, they let this define who they are, and I love that scene. I think it's just like a brilliant Oliver Stone. Just check out all my characters, check out the kind of the lay of the land where they're staying. Good stuff, really good stuff. And yeah, I love Jefferson Airplane. So
I nearly had that. I thought they cut the song off too fast. I was like,
they definitely do. They
right
definitely
when we're getting into it, I'm like, now we're not hearing the song anymore. I was like, shit. So I almost had that. And yeah, John C. McGinley, one of my favorite character actors of all time, who never gets the respect he deserves. He's been there. I didn't know he was acting this early, honestly. I thought he came about in the 90s, but he's a big guy in this movie. And I love him. He's just this sarcastic. I love what was the line? Elias, like you can take it, like, take a break. You don't have to be a prick every day of your life.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I got a bad feeling. About this one. It's like, man, O'Neill was a fascinating character in this movie. I could watch a movie with him as the main guy.
I would, yeah. Damn.
Yeah,
Good pick.
good shit. Yeah, good shit. Philip Seymour Hoffman Award, best performance of the movie. Who do you got?
There are options here. I get pretty much every one of them. This is a very well acted film. And I had to ultimately go with somebody who really fucking surprised me, and that's Charlie Sheen.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I didn't know he had it in him.
Oh no. Yeah. I don't think he does. I think I think he was possessed during this movie.
He had to have been. I mean, I've seen, fucking Scary Movie and 2.5 Men, Charlie Sheen. Like, this is new to me. I didn't know that in the 80s, like, he had this kind of range. And he just plays, kind of just a guy steadily losing his innocence over the course of the film. And I just love the way it's done. His, the fear and rage in his eyes, the way he screams at people in the second half of the film, the red bandana, just like, covered in blood and dirt, just not fucking caring. It's a great performance. And when he's screaming at the Vietnamese guys in the hole, and then he just starts crying to himself, where he's like,
yeah,
what was it? Like, he doesn't even know what that was. It's just, Jesus, man, what happened? What happened, man? Like, he could have been one of the greatest actors we had. Where did he go? Yeah.
I don't know.
How the fuck did he turn into that?
I don't know. Drugs, I guess. It really sucks. And like, 2.5 Men is one of the worst things on planet Earth. I can't believe people watched that. It was the most popular show for like 12 years. And that, if you sit down and watch an episode, you're like, this is the worst kind of entertainment. This and Big Bang Theory. Fuck those shows, Like, why did those get so popular? I don't understand. Like, there's so many things that I maybe I don't like, but I get it. Like, I get the appeal to that. I get it. You're watching rich people do rich things. I get it. Fine. It's not for me, but I get it. Those shows I don't understand. And I always, because I saw Platoon as a kid, and I've seen Wall Street. I like him in that movie, and I'm like, well, why was this your decision later on in life to like be on this horrible sitcom? Yeah, yep, it is. It's money, winning.
You know how much he fucking made for 2.5 Men? Like, and the people in the Big Bang Theory, like, they were the highest paid people on TV. I don't know why. I've tried to sit through both of those shows, and it just pissed me off. I was like, this isn't funny.
Yeah, it's not acting. I'll tell you that. it's just mindless stuff. And I like some sitcoms, so I'm not jogging that kind of a medium, that art form. Yeah. But those are going to be like the two most remembered 2000s 2010s sitcoms, and that both blows my mind.
Yeah, I'm one of those crazy people who thinks that a comedy should be funny. I mean,
yeah.
Call me insane for those, wild thoughts, but yeah.
I would like to laugh just once. Yeah. Maybe once every 30 minutes would be cool.
I had so many people in high school dog me for not liking The Big Bang Theory. They were like, come on, man, it's super funny. You just got to watch it. I'm like, I did. It's not funny. So many people would be on my ass about that.
Bazinga. Yeah.
I get the appeal of Stranger Things. I do not fucking get the appeal of The Big Bang Theory.
Yeah. See, exactly. Yeah. There's stuff that's not for me I get it. And I get why there's like a fan club for most things. I've never understood those. Like Big Bang Theory, I don't know. But 2.5 Men more so makes my blood boil. It's crazy. It's so crazy. All three of them are so fucking annoying.
I haven't caught it on TV in a while because it's been a minute since I've been to the dentist. So
yeah, Yeah. That's that shit. Those places, grocery stores, dentist, whatever, these different places that just have a TV in the lobby, they just play this shit on nobody's watching it. It's just playing, and there's ratings, yeah. And it's like, could you put I don't know, anything else on? I don't care. Just I didn't want to get this frustrated, but yeah, Charlie Sheen has had this wild career that really just does not make much sense. And he is very surprised. It's very shocking to see him do a good job in Platoon. So I hear you on that. And he carries the movie. He's in every single scene basically. So I'm with that. I hear that argument. I do think it's between him, Berenger, and Dafoe, and of course I chose Dafoe. I mean, God, Sergeant Elias. From the way he dresses to the way he talks, to the way he dies, I can't get enough of Dafoe's performance in this movie. I remember talking about it when we did our top 5 Dafoe. It's like right there. On a different day, maybe it's my top 5. I really like what he's doing in this movie, and you have an immediate sense of obviously what's to come for Dafoe after 1986, and like he hasn't stopped still, and he is one of our most talented people that we've ever bred. And like that makes me proud. Like makes me proud to be from the same place that Defoe's from. Like that's kind of insane to think about. A guy who has been in so many of my favorite movies and always at the stand. He's pretty much always the standout in every movie that he's in, whether it's for 10 minutes or for an hour. Yeah, and my Deacons will definitely involve him. Well, I'll say that.
Oh, dude, as a lifelong cinephile, Willem Dafoe is one of my heroes. Like he commits every time. I've heard he's really nice and he just values the craft. And I respect the hell out of that. And like you said, he has not stopped. If anything, he's gotten better. It's amazing. Like his performances lately have been some of his best work of his entire career.
For sure. I'd say the 2010s is his best decade.
Yeah. And just to know that
nuts.
Just to know that in 1986, he was like, he had that, like he's always had that. That's good to know. Very cool.
Yeah, fucking A, man. Love him. He just totally understands what's going on in the movie and what Oliver Stone needs out of him, what we need out of him as an audience, and he's obviously the hero of the movie,
Yeah.
And he has that one line where him and Charlie Sheen are they're looking at the stars, like almost brought me to tears. He's like, they just are. The stars, they have no. They choose no side, they're just here.
Yeah.
I thought that was so beautiful.
That reflection of just like, what the fuck are we doing? What does this mean? In the grand scheme, it means fuck all. Like we're just killing each other. It's Jesus. I gotta watch this again. I really feel like I gotta watch this again. I feel like I didn't grasp this as well as I should have.
I might have played a role in building your expectations too much. That can happen.
I don't think you did. I think that if I'd known Oliver Stone was so personally invested in this, I think I would have had a different mindset watching it. And that's just, that's on me. So
yeah, well, I hear that, man. I totally understand. With that being said, what was your favorite scene after your first time watching it?
It was the death of Elias.
Yeah.
I mean,
the cover of the movie. Yeah, the arms up.
Yeah,
Shawshank style. Yeah.
Thanks for spoiling that, by the way, DVD cover. I appreciate that.
Yeah. And it's obviously Willem Dafoe. I can tell by just his arms. I'm like, that's Dafoe. Dafoe would totally wear a cut-off sleeve, vest with a bandana, like a bandana, and his big eyes looking out, and come on.
I mean, it is kind of my fault. I mean, the movie came out 36 years ago, so but still. Just that whole subplot of Barnes and Elias butting heads, and then Barnes getting Elias alone and fucking shooting him in the chest. And then, seeing him run out of the jungle while the chopper's taken off and just the Viet Cong are massacring him. Jesus Christ, man. It was just such a vicious end for one of the few good people in this movie.
Yeah. Oh man, that whole 10-minute stretch is it might be my favorite stretch in any Oliver Stone movie. Is when Elias, because it's so planned out from Barnes' side. He's calling the shots, and he's like, you're working for me, and I'm telling you, you're going to go to this flank. And so Elias is like, all right, well, if I'm going to go this flank, I'm going alone because I move faster alone. And he goes over to Taylor and Francis and he's like, hey guys, I'm going over here. It's about 100 meters away. And Taylor's like, I want to go with you. And he's like, no, I move faster alone. So he goes alone. And then Barnes starts kind of stalking him, and it's Oliver Stone just using the elements of the amazing amount of green that is in Vietnam, that is in this part of Asia. And you have, I think they're actually in Cambodia at that point, I think in that part of the movie, where a lot of the shit went down. And the trees, the grass, and the camouflage, so much green, and all you can see is Dafoe and Barnes just running through, and Dafoe is boom, 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 Elias is killing people, he's taking people out while he's running, and then Barnes is doing the same thing, and then finally, Barnes sees Elias, and Elias smiles. He's like, haha, it's you. I was about to kill you because I thought you were the enemy. And then Barnes is like, you are the enemy, and it's one of those just like, oh my God, moments of filmmaking that I can't get enough of. Like, I thought that scene is so well executed from Stone and from these two actors who are just doing great work.
I love the lack of dialogue, just the facial expressions from both those great actors. You know exactly what is about to happen. The smile, though, is the worst. It's like, hey, friendly, like I'm out of danger. And then Barnes is just, I love, he lowers his gun like he's thinking about it. And then he's like, and he kills him, or he thinks he kills him. Like, holy hell, man. And God, I can't imagine that kind of betrayal.
Yeah, and then the shot from above when Taylor's like, it's Elias. And he's screaming like, oh my God, he's not dead. We gotta go save him. And they're like, Barnes is like, holy fuck. Like, are you kidding me? Like, he's not dead. And him running. I mean, it's like Sonny Corleone. It's like wow, look at this guy who will not go down without a fight type of character. And he's just getting blasted and he's trying to crawl. He's trying to make his way. And then he puts his arms up like, what am I doing? Like, I can't believe I was just essentially sacrificed for this bullshit war. Brilliant stuff. Easily the, not just my favorite stretch of the movie, but the best. It is the most like gut-wrenching, disgusting, but somehow entertaining part of the movie. And it's Oliver Stone. That's what he does. Like, he does this over and over. Like, the stuff he does with JFK reminds me of the stuff. It's like, how do you make history not just a lesson, but such a like visceral experience that you can't get you can't look away when you're watching one of his movies. It's really amazing.
Well, one thing I noticed with Oliver Stone's historical movies is it's very light on fluff. He doesn't like to bullshit his audience. And I appreciate that big time, because so many biopics are so full of shit. I mean, they're like barely any truth to them. Most of it's Hollywood bullshit. And I accept that. I came to the buffet, I'm going to fucking eat. But I do like a streamlined, mostly truth-filled look at our history. And Stone really does that well.
Yeah, he gets it. He's like an historian and then a filmmaker. And that's cool. I'm glad we have that. This is the first time I feel like we've really gotten to dig in to him. We talked about JFK at great length a couple different times, but this is his winner. This is the Platoon is his probably most recognizable movie. So it's just cool to kind of be able to talk about him and talk about just how like oddly realistic this is. And then you're like, oh, it's because it's by a guy who was there in 1967, the same time that these guys are here fighting. And not only is that scene great with Elias actually dying, but it creates the last 45 minutes to just be so bloody intense. And then we have, of course, the end where Taylor gets to get his revenge. And while, that's like, you can kind of see that coming, it is rewarding. It's like, fuck you, Barnes. Fuck you, man. Like, and Taylor doesn't waste a lot of time. He's like, I'm doing this.
Don't forgive. It's pretty great. Like, he from the second they got back, he's like, he immediately knew, like, Barnes killed him. He knew straight up. He's like, we got to do something about this. And everyone's like, no, absolutely not.
Are you kidding me?
Let that go.
Yeah, I'm glad he didn't let it go. You know,
Yeah.
yeah, everybody was telling him just do your time, get out of here, go home. And he's like, but if I don't do this and I go home, I won't ever live it down. So no regrets, you know. And he just goes for it. So yeah, it's a brilliant movie. I'm really glad we both have seen it and have the, you know, we kind of have the same opinion of it, just being just like, wow, like what a unique war film, you know. Definitely one to kind of, it's one to kind of keep in the upper echelon of war movies. I think of it might not be everybody's favorite, but it needs to, it's a respectable movie.
Well, I think you're more inclined to, you know, tell an American story, like an American history story correctly if you were fucking a part of it. If you were a part of American history, you don't want to see lies blanket your experience.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Totally agree, man. Good stuff. Good awards here. Yeah, I mean, we think we highlighted some great stuff from this movie. Had a couple great quotes, good piece of score, good soundtrack bit. Dafoe and Sheen, and we both have the same Deacon, so it makes sense. You know, I think we both had kind of a similar experience at this movie. So I'm glad you feel like you should rewatch it. I think that's cool. I think that's a unique thing to happen through these podcasts where you watch them for the first time and you realize while talking about it, wow, I think I want to see this again. I think it's like worth that. It's worth that time. That's unique.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite things to come out of doing all these shows is a new appreciation for certain films and a new kind of way of watching them that I've never had, and now it's just part of who I am.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, with Platoon comes, the Best Picture Showdown, and oh boy, these other movies had no chance. I mean, come on, like it's the past few we've done of this. Let's see, we did, of course, The Godfather. I mean, not even do I feel like these movies had no chance against The Godfather. It's like it's not really a conversation necessarily. There's second place and there's third place and fourth place and fifth place, but first place was inevitable. And we didn't, that was episode 105. Episode 100 was Silence of the Lambs. Kind of the same thing. I think JFK is really, really good, but yeah, I mean, come on. Episode 95, we didn't do a showdown. It was the day of the Oscars, a ceremony that I'd like to forget very quickly. And episode 90, I'm not sure which one that was. I just know that the past few we've like been very like, yeah, it's not only is this obvious for us, but it's the one that actually won, and that's cool. That's cool to like agree.
Yeah, I'm curious about what 90 was as well. I'm looking it up on my Letterboxd right now.
90, I'm pretty sure 85 was No Country for Old Men, and I can't remember what 90 was.
90 was 12 Years a Slave, I believe.
Yeah, see, we both had some things to say about different movies with that group. But that's also these 2010s ones. There's like 8 or 9 or 10 fucking movies up, and I just don't like that. I much prefer the 5. It's a much better conversation to have, more exclusive. So we both watched all 5 of these Best Picture nominees. Again, Platoon, Children of a Lesser God, Hannah and Her Sisters, The Mission, and A Room with a View. So we're gonna rank these bad boys. From 5 to 1. So I'll kind of let you start whenever you're ready.
All right. Yeah. This was not the best group, but maybe that's why they didn't win Best Picture. Number 5 is A Room with a View.
Yes, same. Pretty clearly.
Yeah. I went on a bit of a rant with you through text about movies like this, where rich English white bread arrogant assholes make up their own problems and expect me to care. And I just don't. I've yet to care. I didn't like Howard's End, and I didn't like Room with a View. Same director, same screenwriter. Basically the same exact movie.
Yep. Just like what, 6 years apart? Yeah.
Yeah. And I just don't. I don't get the appeal. Like, just go read Jane Austen again. She was doing it in a different way. And this is basically just a movie about a woman and her aunt who get a room that doesn't have a view and then bitch about it, but still refuse to accept a very like generous offer of like, hey, I don't need a view. You can have our room. And for Maggie Smith to be like, how dare you? Like, what the fuck is this? And it's basically that for 2 hours. I couldn't believe it. I was like, this was like someone out there, this is their favorite movie. It's got to be.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of this one. It's on like multiple streaming services. It's on Criterion, Amazon Prime.
I watched it on Showtime.
Yeah. I knew it was on 3 or 4. And I mean, the first 20 minutes is, I was like, if I weren't doing this for a podcast, I would turn this nonsense off. That's how I felt. Man, I kind of liked Howard's End. I thought Anthony Hopkins was like excellent in that movie, and I do think James Ivory gets something out of his performances, out of his actors. And this cast, Maggie Smith, Helena Bonham Carter, fucking Daniel Day-Lewis. There's obviously some like really, really strong talent in this movie and some really raw talent with Helena and Daniel Day-Lewis. But there's like, they don't do much with it. It's 2 hours, but feels like 4. It drags big time. And it's something I feel like I've seen a million times where it's like, I fell in love with this guy who's kind of, it's a Lady and the Tramp type thing. And he's a little bit different. He's a little bit rough around the edges. Not quite what, my family wants for me. And then here's this guy, Daniel Day-Lewis, who's this prick who's got everything laid out for him his whole life, fucking silver spoon type guy. And this is who I'm going to marry. And then the rough around the edges guy comes back around and is like, hey, remember me? You had fun with me. And I've seen this like 40,000 times. I don't need it again. I don't need this version of it. I'm never watching this movie again in my life. What boggles my mind is the reception that it still has. Did we miss something? This movie has like a 3.8 on Letterboxd, which is pretty good. A 7.2 on IMDb, which is pretty good. Oh, what, are we in the wrong here? Like, what's so great about this movie?
Did you catch the Rotten Tomatoes score?
No, I haven't.
100%.
Yeah. What are we missing? Won 3 Oscars. What? What did we not see with this movie? Why is it on Criterion? What's going on? I don't know, man. It like upset me, and I went in with an open mind because I thought Howard's End was all right. Because again, Anthony Hopkins is great in that movie, but it's pretty boring. It makes me sick that when we do 1993, not only are we going to have to watch endlessly long Schindler's List as the winner, we're going to have to watch another James Ivory movie, Remains of the Day. Great. Can't wait.
Oh, God damn it. I don't know. Is it a generational thing? Like, can we just not get on board with a movie like this anymore? But then I'm like, I liked Atonement, and that had a general similar vibe.
Yeah.
So maybe it's not. Is it James Ivory? Is it him?
It very well could be. And I think a big thing for me, and I think you connect with this too, is when you see Maggie Smith, someone we both really, really, really like, Helena Bonham Carter, same thing, and Daniel Day-Lewis, who we both see as one of the greatest to ever do it. It's like, man, is it wrong for me to want more out of all of them? Is it wrong for me to want better material for all of them, or a different kind of movie? I don't know.
I feel like it'd be like if you went to Gordon Ramsay's restaurant and he made you like a microwave dinner. You'd be a little bit like, I expected a lot more from this. Like Daniel Day-Lewis is such an insufferable little worm who's just, like when he's on the tennis court trying to read poetry to people and then he gets annoyed when they hit him with a ball. Like, are you kidding me? I can't believe Daniel Plainview exists in that man.
Yeah, I know. It really is remarkable. Like if you look at it as look at the fucking range this motherfucker has. And he does a movie the same year as A Room with a View called My Beautiful Laundrette. Where he plays a completely different dude, a gay character, like kind of in the slums of London. Completely different character. And so you're like, wow, this guy really. This was the time too when it was like he was being discovered in the mid 80s, late 80s.
Yeah.
So it is cool to have. That's the only reason I'm glad I watched it, was to get another Daniel Day-Lewis performance under my belt of, okay, I see what people were seeing in this guy early on, where it's like, let's cast that guy. He can do anything.
That, and I was happy to watch a screenplay winner. I don't necessarily think it should have gotten it, but I'm glad to watch a screenplay winner. I'm collecting those.
Yeah, I'm grateful to kind of watch nearly anything. You know, I'm never going to be like, that was a complete waste of time. But I do feel like that 2 hours, I could have done something more productive.
Funny, I think that a lot. Like with a lot of movies, I'm like, why did I fucking do that?
You also are on a show where you guys purposefully watch shitty movies. I very rarely go into something that I'm like, I probably will hate this.
I rarely, if ever, think that for that show, though, because I know that even if the movie's a complete disaster, horrific waste of my time,
that's the point. Yeah.
I've got the conversation and I've got fuel for a funny fucking episode. But if it's something I pick for myself and it turns out to be shit, and I'm like, there's 2.5 hours gone, I want to punch something.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Luckily, it doesn't happen a whole lot to me. It usually happens through this show. These Best Picture Showdowns, there's always one or two that I'm like, I don't need that. I don't need that in my brain. But here it is. I'd give this movie, I don't know, a 5 or a 6. I don't fucking know. It looks cool. Again, DDL, amazing what he's doing. I can't believe that guy, like you said, is also Daniel Plainview and Abraham Lincoln, you know. But yeah, 5, maybe a 5. I don't know. Soft 6 or a 5.
It's a soft 6 for me. And I did have to give it some praise for performance. You don't see Maggie Smith play such weak characters very often.
Yeah. This is true. Well, we can never talk about this again. Until we do Remains of the Day. I'm sure we'll bring up Howard's End and A Room with a View again. Number 4, what do you got?
My number 4 is The Mission.
Okay.
I think I had too high expectations for this.
Fair.
That comes from, I've heard about this movie for years. I'm a De Niro fan. I'm on the fence about Jeremy Irons. The more of him I watch, the more I'm like, do I really like this guy? But Morricone's score is beautiful. I love historical.
Unreal. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know how much I love historical dramas. But this film is whitewashed like a linen shirt. It's fucking ridiculous. This whole, the Spanish were protecting the indigenous tribes from the horrific slave-inducing Portuguese. Like, no, the Spanish showed up to subjugate first, and the Portuguese were trying to get on their territory. That's what was going on here. Nobody gave a fuck about the tribes.
Yeah,
like, let's be honest. If we're gonna make this movie, let's be honest about it. Let's stop, acting like this is fucking Schoolhouse Rock and Columbus discovered the Earth, or not the Earth. My mistake. Pretty sure that didn't happen. Discovered America. It's just
he came from the moon. Yeah.
The Italians on the moon were like, Christopher, go find us another place. No, but I just hate this whitewashed bullshit of history. And then watching, Platoon, which took a very real look at Vietnam. It's like, why do we keep doing this? Why do we keep ignoring history and giving us some, processed bullshit to help us forget that white people throughout mankind's history have been fucking monsters for most of it. Like, we didn't do anything personally. It's not a wrong thing to look at history accurately. And we keep forgetting that in this country, especially. And as a historian, I was the whole time, I was really fucking bored. That didn't help. But also I was just the whole time like, this didn't happen like this. This is bullshit. I know this is bullshit. So not a fan.
Well, my number 4 is also The Mission.
Really? You talked pretty highly about this one. I'm surprised.
Yeah, I like the rest of these movies. I think, yeah, my 1 and 2 I really like, and then 3 and 4, yeah, I'd say, I'd say I'd maybe watch them again. Maybe The Mission, I don't think I need to see again. Ennio Morricone. There's a reason we have one of our awards named after him, and it's because of stuff like this. And I'm totally with you. I would never argue against how how especially like 20th century just Hollywood bullshit it is of changing, the balls to be like, we're gonna call Robert De Niro Rodrigo, like that's just it's just really, really dumb.
I do love that he does not drop the Italian accent at all.
Not at all, not at all. And Jeremy Irons isn't trying that hard either. I do think he's good in it, De Niro. I do think his kind of his beginnings as a mercenary, as like a slave trader type who's pretty ruthless and kills his own brother in a duel, which I thought was funny. I do think his kind of ride through the movie is fascinating, and I do respect kind of that story arc of him helping out these people. Like, this is the right thing to do, is to fight for something that's of value. Because those pricks in Portugal are quite annoying. I mean, come on. Like, there's a couple scenes where you're like, fuck these guys. These guys are so lame. And Jeremy Irons, I like some of the stuff he's doing too. The main reason I responded to it, aside from Morricone, thought the directing was really good. Thought the cinematography was really good. I love stories about Christianity that point out how fucked up it is. So I responded to it on that front. The Vatican has this list of movies that they hold like as holy, and there's about 40 of them, and The Mission is one of them. I find that to be like so funny that I like it, that I like feed on. I'm like, yes, look at these fuckers. So it's not so much that I love what's happening within the film. It's kind of what's around it. Kind of as this piece of, look what we did in the 80s, and I hope we can change what we do now with these kinds of movies to properly respect different cultures. But the main reason I would give it an 8 overall is Ennio Morricone is like on a different level. It is great. I could listen to this score all fucking day, and that's why I wasn't bored. I do think it's a little too long or a little too short. I think it's in that weird space of like, we didn't tell enough of the story. We didn't give enough respect to cultures that are outside of white. And it also like could have chopped off some of the boring scenes. So I don't know. It's kind of in a no man's land, but I did enjoy it. I'm glad I've seen it. And it might have something to do with that. I didn't quite know this is Morricone. Like, shame on me for not knowing. I remember I texted you were like, yeah, this is like one of his most celebrated works. And I was like, how has this movie just escaped me? Like, this movie about Christianity, about Christians versus Christians, essentially, and thinking that you're saving cultures because you're sharing the gospel with them. This like crazy idea that millions and billions of people have. I like movies that put that on the table, and so there were things that I responded to with this movie. But I agree with you. I would have no problem with someone giving this movie a 2. Like I get that perspective as well. Because I've dogged movies that are whitewashed and have no sense about them. So I get that.
I find it interesting that we both kind of took things away from this film that are like fundamental to who we are. Like, I was bothered by the lack of accurate history, and you love that it was dog and Christianity.
Yeah, thought it was funny. Yeah, I thought there was like humorous parts of it which aren't supposed to be funny, but it's my experience.
Did you notice that the Don guy who gets pissed when De Niro calls him out on his shit, as Maury from Goodfellas? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Him and De Niro have been just pissing each other off in so many different movies.
Yeah. That scene was great from De Niro. It's just like, oh man, look at this fucking movie star just kind of going toe to toe with the powers that be. And he takes the wig off and throws it down. I thought that was great. And he's bald. You're like, oh my God.
It's so annoying to see how much power the church used to have.
Yep.
I mean, just the, films like this and The Crucible, and just this, like, if you didn't kneel before the man who claims to know what God said, you're going to die.
Yeah.
And that's just, I can't imagine that.
Get that shit out of here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, took different things out of it, but both are number 4. So obviously I like this group a little bit more than you. What's your number 3?
My number 3 is Woody Allen's Hannah and Her Sisters.
Same here.
I can't seem to get Woody Allen. He's just so obnoxious and clearly thinks he's like the greatest screenwriter who ever lived.
Yeah.
And he's not. He just keeps writing the same movie, and the Oscars just fucking keep stroking him off. I don't get it. It's ridiculous. I mean, this movie is just watching Michael Caine cheat on his wife and then not tell her about it. That's pretty much the whole movie. There's nothing else here.
I like this one quite a bit. I was very surprised because I'm also not a big Woody Allen guy. Annie Hall, it's got some good stuff. I like some of the stuff in Purple Rose of Cairo. But I've never been a huge fan of his, and I'm not a huge fan of him in Hannah and Her Sisters. He, as a performer, like, dude, I hate to just make fun of the way people are, but he's annoying. He's just annoying. Like, well, yeah, how you doing? He's just got that like weird voice that just doesn't fit well on screen and through audio. And I wouldn't be opposed to people saying that about me, but I'm allowed to say it about Woody Allen. He's also someone I just don't care to get into. There's conversations that we could have. I'll save that for a completely different time. I don't even feel like going into it. Because it's fucking weird. And we'll save it for the Annie Hall episode that we do at some point in the future. I thought the performances were very strong in this movie, and I couldn't believe how good the cast was. Daniel Stern, what the fuck? John Turturro, all these people that just pop up out of nowhere. You're like, what is this? I think Mia Farrow is really good in this movie. And then I think Michael Caine. It's not an Oscar winning performance, but I do like him a lot. I like the voiceover stuff. The little bits of narration I thought were really good. And I don't know what it is about movies that I thought the editing was really good. And this movie goes over 2 years, essentially, from one Thanksgiving to the next. And I thought it was pretty seamless in the way that it moved through its story, moved through its drama. So I respected that aspect of it as well. You gave this movie to me because you got it on DVD and you're like, I don't care. I don't want it. And I was like, I'll take it. I like it. I might watch it again one day. And I think it'd be silly to not say that Woody Allen is good at using New York, and it's a character. It's clearly something that's very big in his life and has like a great effect on him. So I do appreciate that about his work, that he's able to properly make New York feel as big as it can be, but also as small as it can be. And I love that about this movie.
He's like all the neurotic worst parts of Larry David came to life.
Yeah.
He's so irritating and obnoxious and creepy. And he's one of the most decorated people in Oscars history. And I love that we're just like avoiding him like the plague because we just don't care for him. I mean, it'll come one day. There's some heavy hitters we haven't really gone into, and he's one of them. Yeah, he has like 13 nominations or some crazy shit for screenplay or directing or whatever, and a Best Picture winner. So yeah, well, it'll happen one day. Yeah. And I'm excited to do that year. It's 77. We'll get to talk about Star Wars as well. So like that'll be a cool kind of. Here's these different kinds of movies going at it, but yeah, we'll save the like Woody Allen stuff for that day. Makes sense.
Yeah.
I just thought Hannah and Her Sisters was like half a story. Like
that's fair. That's fair.
Never got any closure on anything, and it's Woody Allen writing himself as like this guy who's gonna somehow land. Who was it? Was it Diane Wiest he ends up with? Yeah,
Holly. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. No way.
Their first date was absolute hell. Like they just hated each other so much. That's gonna 2 years later they're gonna have a baby. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Can you believe Lewis Black was in this movie? Like,
I couldn't believe. I was like, no fucking way, and I had to look it up. I was like, it's Lewis Black.
Yeah. And Julie Louis-Dreyfus and Max von Sydow and like what?
Yeah, Max von
JT
Sydow
Walsh
as just a horrible fucking asshole. Just I hate everybody, but please don't leave me.
Like, yeah. I'm an artist. Yeah. The cast is absolutely bonkers.
I am continuously impressed by the people that Woody Allen is able to court for his movies. It really he brings together a hell of an ensemble every time.
It's kind of like Wes Anderson's ability to just like, these people keep coming back to me and they want some of it. They want some of that action.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Anderson, I get, because he's never, like fucked his adopted daughter or whatever the fuck Woody Allen did, or raped a child like Roman Polanski did. So like certain people I understand continuously getting people, but other people I'm like, do you not know what this guy's done? Like, why do people keep coming back to them?
I don't know, man. I don't know. It's that it's that Hollywood bitch, it's sometimes there's no answers for it.
I do also love that we've now seen both of Michael Caine's wins and we don't think he deserved either one of them.
No. I mean, not really even close. So especially the other one, Cider House Rules, just nah. I'd like to forget about that movie altogether. All right, so we're exactly aligned here, and I think we're gonna stay that way. Maybe not. What do you got for number 2?
I'm gonna break the cycle. Number 2 is Platoon.
Damn.
Yeah.
I think we've only been the exact same like once this entire time we've done this show. I can't remember what year it was, but I remember calling it. I was like, I think it was 1961.
Yeah, it was. I remember.
We both had Fanny like way back in the back. We both had West Side Story in the same spot. We both thought Judgment at Nuremberg was number 1 and The Hustlers number 2 and Guns of Navarone 3. Yeah.
And then Caleb and I had the same on Silence of the Lambs.
That's right. And then I changed Beauty and the Beast and Prince of Tides. I love Prince of Tides.
I did too. It was really good. But all right. So
Platoon number 2. So obviously Platoon's my number 1 and Children of Lesser Gods my 2. And for you, it's flipped.
Dude, something about Children of a Lesser God really spoke to me, and I really liked it. And I
get it.
That
it's
movie,
great.
I get why Platoon won. It's the one everybody liked. It's the big movie of the ceremony. It's maybe Oliver Stone's best work. I get it. Children of a Lesser God is so subdued and careful and very personal in its storytelling that it just feels like a Best Picture win for that movie would have meant a whole lot more.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah, this director, Rhonda Haynes, like the resume is just not there. I was blown away. I was like, who directed this movie? This is like, I loved Children of a Lesser God. I thought it was great. It's a like solid 8, close to a 9 kind of movie. I really, really liked it. I thought our 2 leads were lights out. And totally deserving of nominations. And Marlee Matlin, totally deserving of the win. She is phenomenal in this movie. I'm like, if she would have won Best Director or this movie would have won Best Picture, it would have probably changed her career. And so I agree with you on that. I mean, Oliver Stone wasn't going anywhere either way. I just can't believe this is kind of it for her directing resume. It's like, this movie looks really good. And it's a play, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a stage play. This is one of the few times I've been like, this makes sense on the screen. A lot of stage plays, I'm like, oh yeah, you can tell. You can fucking some of it just doesn't do too hot on the screen. This, I'd be very curious to see this play because I think the movie moved very, very, very well. Man, William Hurt, rest in peace. That guy was, the guy had his demons for sure. But man, on the screen as a performer, fucking incredible. 3 Oscar nominations in a row for him.
Yeah.
Or was one? Did he win one in the 80s?
Kiss of the Spider Woman. That was
1985. So 1985. Then this is 1986. 87 would be what?
Broadcast News, I believe.
That's right. And then of course A History of Violence later on with him and Vigo going at it. That's a great movie. Yeah, he's the man. Like he's fantastic. And Marlee Matlin, why the fuck was her career not different?
Dude, the whole time I'm thinking like she should have been one of the most famous actresses of the 80s and 90s. Like she was unbelievable in this movie. And I 100% think, 80s audiences were not ready for a deaf leading woman. That's exactly what happened. I guarantee it.
Yeah, and I know you're like writing has to go around that, but it's worth it when you get her. I mean, it's totally, she is strikingly beautiful and is so easy to just root for. I was like, my heart was like broken watching that movie, and there were multiple scenes where I was like, just my jaw was like to the floor because of her. Like, oh my god, one of the most deserving Oscars I've ever seen.
Yeah,
immediately become one of my favorite. Whether it's a best lead actress or supporting, one of my favorite wins of all time from a woman.
It made me want to I want to pencil this in like as a full episode next year or something.
Yeah.
I want to do this.
Fuck yeah. I'm so down. Yeah. I think we both responded to this movie like a lot. And
she was only she was only like 20. She's the youngest actress to ever
21.
win.
21. Yeah, like
fucking crazy. Like she's the youngest actress to win Best Actress. That's
bonkers. And William Hurt was like 36 when this movie came out, so that's like a little weird. And then of course what happens in their personal life is very, very fucked up.
Yeah.
Sometimes with dead people it's like we should probably just let them sleep, but William Hurt definitely had some demons.
It was really shitty for all of that to come out when he died. Yeah. I wish we'd gotten to have a moment where we could kind of say fuck him when he was alive. It just feels like, there's no point to it like now, because like it's not like he's gonna like he had his career. Like there's nothing to take away from him. I mean, his legacy is gonna pretty much like stay alive.
Yeah.
And it's not like he couldn't defend himself either. Like I don't know. I don't really get into it, but
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
But the film is remarkable. I think it's one of the most like human films I've ever seen. And I was just blown away by just this love connection that comes like independent of language. Was so powerful and done so well. It was my favorite film of the five.
Yeah, no, I'm totally down with that. Obviously, we've talked a lot about Platoon, so like, yeah, I mean, it's also great. This usually happens on these Best Picture showdowns. Typically, we get two movies that are good, that are through and through fucking good. 1960, Elmer Gantry in The Apartment. 1972, Godfather and Cabaret. 1971, I think we got three that year with Last Picture Show, Clockwork, and French Connection. Like there was usually two or three that are like, I get it. This is Best Picture worthy.
Yeah.
And the others could, it's up to it's kind of up to your opinion, but there's always two that feel like they belong. And I think Platoon and Children of a Lesser God belong in this group. I would stack them up against The Fly, Blue Velvet, Aliens, like movies that I love from 1986. I would have a conversation about those,
Dude, I was looking through my letterbox of 86 films I've seen, and I couldn't fucking believe how much got overlooked. Like, why is Blue Velvet not in here?
I don't know.
Unreal. The Fly
Crazy.
Should be in here. Aliens should be in here. There's so many great movies from this year.
That would be my five. It'd be Blue Velvet, Aliens. What would we just fucking say? The Fly, Platoon, and Children of a Lesser God. Like those five, that is a awesome and very versatile Best Picture group.
That'd be beautiful. Does Platoon still win?
For me, The Fly. I think The Fly is like one of the most absurd and amazing movies I've ever seen, and has, in my opinion, the guy who should have won Best Actor over James Woods, William Hurt, Bob Hoskins, Dexter Gordon, and Paul Newman. Love Paul Newman to death, but I'll take my guy Jeff Goldblum all day.
Can you imagine if we lived in a world where The Fly had like Best Actor Goldblum, Best Director Cronenberg, Best Picture? Like Jesus,
No,
what a world.
I can't imagine that world because then our buddies Caleb and Josh would care. And that just doesn't seem like it's ever going to happen. So David Lynch is up for Blue Velvet for Best Director. That's nice. That seems to happen to him. Like he was up for Mulholland Drive, but Mulholland Drive wasn't up for Best Picture.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't get it.
They throw him a bone because he's David Lynch. They're like,
he's,
all right.
Yeah, he's being weird enough to like give him some credit, but
he's obviously not going to win. They're never going to give him one, but they're going to let him have a seat at the table.
Correct. And he's like, sure, that sounds nice. Yeah. No, this is great. This is fun. We knocked off 5 more fucking movies that are Best Picture nominees, and it goes in the history books for Oscar Sunday for Filmgazm Productions. So I'm cool with it, not the best group, but not the worst. I think we've seen worse. So some of those early years, you see some shit, and you have rough bunches. But again, I like truly believe no matter what, there's always 1 or 2 that are like worth your time, and that's enough. That's enough for me. 40% is okay for me if I'm getting Platoon and Children of a Lesser God. If I'm getting The Apartment and Elmer Gantry, I'll watch the other ones. I'll take that on and have these conversations with you. Most importantly,
I do love that you consider 1986 to be one of the early years.
No. I mean when we've done 60s and when we've done other Best Picture showdowns. No, yeah, this is.
I thought you were roping in this. I'm like, it's not that early.
No. This is 80s. 80s does not have like great group. We've done 1981, not the best group. We've done. I guess those are the only 2 80s Best Picture showdowns we've done are Chariots of Fire, which yikes,
yeah.
But that has Atlantic City and Raiders of the Lost Ark. I love both of those, and that was enough for me to like do that episode.
Even Reds, I did like.
Yeah, Reds was cool. Yeah, it was cool to like knock out another Warren Beatty. I like watching guys like that. Jack Nicholson's amazing in that movie. So I always find something like be positive about with these shows, and again, most importantly, it's like being able to just talk to you about them is so much fun.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man.
Cool. Well, we've got our 5. So we both went A Room with a View, number 5. We went The Mission, number 4. Hannah and Her Sisters, number 3. I went Children of a Lesser God and Platoon. You went Platoon, Children of a Lesser God. So not bad. We kind of on the same page there. Now let's see if we're on the same page with some of these categories. We'll talk about what we can. Let's fucking get into it. This has 4 winners. Obviously, we've talked about Best Picture. So let's talk about the other 7 categories, and then we'll get the hell out of here. Let's do cinematography, because every group is pretty big. Cinematography. Here we go. All right. The winner is The Mission. It beat Peggy Sue Got Married, Platoon, A Room with a View, and Star Trek 4. The Voyage Home. I didn't know that had an Oscar nomination.
Did some of the Star Trek movies have some heavy nominations? It's weird.
I guess I just never really caught that. How about that?
I've seen all 5 of these movies.
Okay. So what's your vote?
I think I'm gonna give it to Platoon.
Same. Robert Richardson, man. Yeah.
The cinematography for that film is very good. I love the way that he paints Vietnam as this kind of, to quote Eli Roth, a green inferno. It's very good. Peggy Sue Got Married. I don't really get why that's here. It's a cute movie, but it's not exactly breaking new ground with cinematography. You ever see that movie?
Oh yeah, I have, but for a bit forgettable. Yeah.
Yeah, like Nick Cage is funny, but that's about it.
Yeah, that's why I watched it. Yeah.
And then Star Trek 4 is fun, but also like cinematography, I think is pushing it. It's Star Trek.
I haven't seen that one, so can't really say. I'm not the biggest Star Trek guy. Yeah.
They go back in time to save the whales because the whales are the only way to communicate with this like probe that's going to destroy Earth. It's a weird movie, but it's really fun.
Yeah, that sounds about right. This will be a good one. Screenplay. The winner, Hannah and Her Sisters. Crocodile Dundee. Crazy. My Beautiful Laundrette, Platoon, and Salvador. 2 Oliver Stone movies in here.
Awesome. Dude, people in the 80s went fucking apeshit over Crocodile Dundee. Like,
I know.
I don't think we comprehend how big of a cultural impact that was in 1986.
No, we do not. No.
I can't. I've seen clips and I'm like, really? That Outback guy goes to the big city? That's all we got here? Or whatever. I haven't seen Dundee or Salvador or I'm sorry.
My Beautiful Laundrette.
My Beautiful Laundrette, yeah. I know you've praised that movie quite often.
Yeah, I fucking love that. That would be my pick for sure. Love that movie.
Nice. I guess because I guess I'll give it to Platoon. I mean, Hannah and Her Sisters, I just don't think is a very strong story. But I think Platoon is. So I think Stone, yeah, he had something there, obviously. So yeah, I'll give it to him.
Yeah, he clearly was doing something in 1986. Yeah, I haven't seen Salvador or Crocodile Dundee. I've seen like bits of Crocodile Dundee just because it is what it is. It's like you said, an 80s phenomenon. Yeah. But My Beautiful Laundrette, that's like a micro budget, like didn't even spend the budget was like 650,000 pounds. It was like tiny movie using Daniel Day-Lewis way before he was what we know him to be today. And I just love how authentic this movie is. Stephen Frears, I think he's like a really underrated director. So I responded quite well to this movie. It also has like a very unique, diverse cast. Saeed Jeffrey is really good. Rashawn Seth is really good. And of course, DDL. So
Rashawn Seth, I know him. Yeah, he was the prime minister in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. So,
yep.
There we go. All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like this.
Yeah. So he followed up Temple of Doom with My Beautiful Laundrette.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I really like that movie. I think you'd really dig it. It's a great DDL performance to just kind of put under the belt. Let's see. Let's do. Oh boy, we got actor in a supporting role. We have 2 people from Platoon. The winner is Michael Caine for Hannah and Her Sisters. Tom Berenger, Willem Dafoe, Denholm Elliott from A Room with a View. No thanks. And big time no thanks is Dennis Hopper from Hoosiers. I love Dennis Hopper, but Hoosiers is a piece of shit movie. I'm a huge basketball guy, and that movie just no for a lot of basketball reasons and a lot of like racial reasons. Just no. I just don't need that movie, and it sucks because we got my guy Gene Hackman and my guy Dennis Hopper both in it. Like, how do you fuck this up? Do anything else but make this insincere movie about basketball in the 50s. Just no. Barbara Hershey is also in this movie, who's also in Hannah and Her Sisters. So great cast, but not for me. My pick would be Willem Dafoe.
I don't think I've ever heard you talk more shit about a movie than Hoosiers. That's come up a couple times.
Love basketball. I'm a big basketball guy, and so many movies fuck up the basketball parts of their story.
What's fucking nuts? This same year, Dennis Hopper killed it in Blue Velvet. That should be the nomination.
Correct. You know what he also crushed in? Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
That was 86. Damn, he had a big year.
He did. Dennis Hopper at one point was really working.
Yeah. Damn, man. I too will give it to. No, you know what? I'm going to give it to Tom Berenger.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I read in the trivia that Stone deliberately cast him against type because at the time, Tom Berenger was known for playing kind of silly, heroic characters, and Dafoe was known for playing evil sleazebags. So he swapped them.
Yeah.
And they both killed it. And I love Dafoe. And one day I hope to see him win an Oscar. But Berenger's fucking scary in this movie. And I think, I like a good villainous performance goes a long way.
Oh, for sure.
So I think,
I think a lot of what you think about when you finish this movie is just like fucking Barnes, man. Like that guy was nuts. So
yeah,
it's got to be one of those 2 guys winning. So yeah, I'm totally with that. But that's it for the just straight up nominations. We have 3 more wins to go through. Best film editing, best sound, and best director. Let's start with best sound.
Best sound.
Our favorite category. Best sound. So it's just very vague, but I also love movies that utilize sound well. So we have Platoon as the winner, beating Aliens. Woo. Heartbreak Ridge. Haven't seen that. Star Trek 4. Also haven't seen that. And Top Gun. Seen that, but I don't like it. So this is obviously between Platoon and Aliens for me, and I'm going to give it to Aliens.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I, too, will give this to Aliens. The sound design in that film is magical.
Sublime.
Yeah.
And this is one of the rare sequels that stands up against the original and is just as good or better.
Oh, yeah. That is an endless debate I will never quite be able to answer. It really is depending on the day.
Yeah. It's like Terminator T2. You know, it's like, yeah, I mean, I'm just grateful we have two great movies.
Yeah, there you go. Just be happy you get to have it, all of it.
Yeah, because more often than not, it's shit. You know, a sequel is shit. And I think there's a few. My personal favorite's probably Spider-Man 2, where I'm like, I think that's better than the first one. I don't know. It's just, yeah, it's fun to talk about those sequels that, and Aliens is at the top of that pop culture list of everyone knows, you know, all they did was add an S to the title, and it's a damn near perfect movie. So, and yeah, not just because I love it, but because it, again, like you said, it utilizes these parts of filmmaking tremendously. Yeah. Platoon's no joke, though. I get why it won. I mean, the sounds of the guns all moving at once, and flares and grenades and guys screaming. Like, yeah, that must have been some long work days.
I can understand. I can see Top Gun having a chance here too.
Yeah.
The movie's not great. I get, people have kind of forgotten that for some reason, but the jets, like, that's no joke. They really are, like, doing a great job there. So I get why that might be considered. And then I don't remember a lot of distinct sounds from Star Trek 4, apart from like the sparkling of the teleporter. But I'm glad it's here. I always like a genre film to have an Oscar nomination. It just makes me smile. And I got to see Heartbreak Ridge. I know that's Clint Eastwood.
Yeah, that is Clint doing his thing. Just haven't ever, like, really come across this movie. I don't know.
Yeah, fair enough. So Aliens.
But yeah, Aliens. I think we're on the same page. A good amount tonight. How about best film editing? Here we go. We've seen all these. We have Platoon as the winner. Aliens. Hannah and Her Sisters. Why? Why is that going against Platoon and Aliens? I do like the way this movie moves, but compared to Platoon and Aliens, come on. The Mission, no, and Top Gun, no. I think this is between Platoon and Aliens again. Clearly,
this is weird. Like, this is
it's a Platoon versus Aliens ceremony.
Yeah, basically. Shit. I'm gonna give this one to Platoon.
Yeah. It goes over over a year.
Yeah. Like, Aliens, very succinct, very well made. But I think when it comes to film editing, for me, I'm always thinking of, like, what they had to, the amount of footage to go through to compile a coherent film. And I bet Platoon, Oliver Stone does not seem like a one and done take kind of guy.
No. He seems like a guy who's got like 45 cameras at once. Let's get the best angle. He's got that Tony Scott thing going on. He's like, let me figure out what's gonna look the best. And you got camera A, camera B, camera C, D, D, E, F, G, on down the line. You have the whole fucking alphabet. And I respect that. I like a guy who's got a clear vision and knows, like, no, this is where I want to put things and this is how it's gonna go. But yeah, I agree with you. I think Oliver Stone's probably, like, a little annoying on set.
I've heard he's a bit of a nut.
Yeah.
I get that. But yeah, I can understand this taking film editing.
Yeah. So hats off to Claire Simpson. God bless you. I'm sure your job wasn't easy. All right, last one. This is a good one. Best director. Of course, Oliver Stone won for Platoon. Beat David Lynch for Blue Velvet. Oof. Woody Allen for Hannah and Her Sisters. Roland Hofe. I don't know if the J is silent, it seems like there. I'm not sure, for The Mission. and James Ivory for Room with a View. This also, to me, is a two-man race between Stone and Lynch.
Yeah, I think so. Roland Jaffe?
Yeah, I don't know. Jaffe? Yeah.
Now it's going to bother me.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is
I don't know. He's the guy who directed The Killing Fields too, so I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, you want to talk about a rough watch? That's one I'm not looking forward to.
Yeah, I mean, it'll come about, organically at some point. 1984, just a couple years before here, so yeah, that'll come one day.
Well, I know that story, and that is one of the saddest cases of just a globally ignored genocide. That is absolutely horrifying.
Yeah.
So Woody Allen, I feel like at some point became kind of like the Meryl Streep of writing, where they're just like, oh, they've got another one, give them a nomination. Not to say like Meryl doesn't deserve a lot of those nominations. I do just think at this point it's like obligatory.
I know exactly what you mean. Well, I love, you know me more than anybody with this kind of stuff. I really, really dig the legacy and historical side of the Oscars and kind of counting up and figuring out like who's racked up the most wins or most nominations. But man, I mean, you just think about in any given year, has Meryl Streep really had over 20 performances that were of the best 5 from the whole year out of hundreds of movies that came out? It's impossible. That's impossible to do. I love some of her movies. I'm a huge fan of her role in Sophie's Choice and Kramer vs. Kramer. The Iron Lady, take it or leave it. But there's other stuff down the line that I really dig. I haven't seen them all. And she's great. And she's so fun to root for. But there's no way. And same with Woody Allen. There's no fucking way this guy was the best writer that many times or the best director that many times. It's impossible. In a world where Alfred Hitchcock doesn't have a win, how do we live in a world where Woody Allen has double-digit nominations? Like, I don't get it.
Yeah, I've never quite understood that. And now that I've started watching his movies, I understand it even less.
Yeah, exactly. It's like we're watching the work. We're not just bullshitting. We're not just spitballing here. I don't think either of us go out of our way to watch Woody Allen, but he's come up on the show a few times. I think we were both pleasantly surprised by Purple Rosa Cairo. We were like, that was pretty good.
Yeah.
And Her Sisters, there's some decent stuff going on. But I mean, compared to other people we've kind of, discovered through this show, not even close.
No. I am going to give this to Stone.
Yeah.
Makes sense. He poured a lot into Platoon. It is very well constructed. Yeah, I totally get that.
I do too. You know me, I'm a big Lynch guy, but Platoon is 2 hours of like Jesus Christ type filmmaking, just blow you away. Almost like borderline must-see type stuff, and Blue Velvet is not really in that, in my opinion. I think there's gonna be some people who just don't respond to Blue Velvet, but Platoon is tough to like. It's tough to watch Platoon and not feel something, not feel a certain way, not have that kind of like pulsating, like whoa, like holy shit, this is crazy. And I tend to think that should win Best Picture or Director or whatever. I tend to think that movies that everyone can feel a certain way about should be recognized. And so Platoon, it's crazy to say, but I think the Oscars got it right this year with some of these. I think Platoon genuinely deserved 4 or 5 wins and 8 or 9 nominations. Truly.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue that. It's an American classic for a reason. It's a remarkable film that I want to feel more towards, so I am going to revisit it. But yeah, this is in a decade that's pretty recognizable for just subpar work when it comes to the Academy. It's nice to have one where it was deserved.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's very, very, very clear that Amadeus 1984 is the best picture winner from the 80s. But Platoon is knocking on the door. And you got Rain Man. It's fine. I'm not crazy about it. Got, Driving Miss Daisy. Yikes. Last Emperor is like 5 hours. You know what I mean? In terms of endearment, pretty good, decent. Ordinary People, decent. But Platoon is like up there for the 80s. It really is up there. I think Gandhi won in 82. Yeah, I don't know. I think Platoon and Amadeus are our best chance to have conversations like this about all kinds of stuff and involving filmmaking and life. And that's kind of the point of doing it. So I had a blast. This is a great episode. These showdowns are always, you just never know what we're going to get.
Yeah, that's true. It's always a pleasure.
Hell yeah, man. Well, the gauntlet continues on Wednesday. Night of the Living Dead on Filmgazm, episode 197. We're getting close to that 200, knocking out some heavy fucking hitters. So Wednesday, just stick with us. We're doing a absolute classic. Can't say the same about Beyond the Bad, but I do actually think this movie is quite funny. Sex Drive, episode 28, coming up on Friday. I watched this movie like stone out of my mind with some friends, and we were like, "What the hell are we doing?"
I feel like that's the only way a lot of people watch this movie.
100%. You're like scrolling through options, and you're like, "Oh, this looks weird." And you click on it. So yeah, that'll be interesting. And then next week we're changing. We're definitely doing a big pivot here, doing something neither of us have seen. That's pretty rare that we do that. We haven't done that since, I don't know, Shanghai Express. Like, that feels like a while ago now. So looking forward to this. 1964, Woman in the Dunes, Japanese film. I believe received 2 nominations at the 38th Academy Awards. But it also might be one of those foreign films that was up in one ceremony and then up in another. So whatever. That's not my main concern. My main concern is watching this movie that neither of us have seen, that I've heard is absolutely epic. And we're also going to talk about Japanese movies. So that'll be really cool. We've never really dug into that stuff. And they have some of the most talented motherfuckers to ever do it over there. So I'm like wicked excited to finally kind of go into that. Woman in the Dunes is on Criterion right now. Maybe HBO Max. I don't know. But check it out if you can and come back. Just Criterion?
Yeah, I double checked.
Yeah.
Criterion's it. But if you want to rent it, you can on Apple TV, I believe.
Oh, there you go. That's always an option. Yeah, I've heard it's not going to let you down. It's got crazy good scores across the board on all kinds of different, Letterboxd, Rotten Tomatoes, all that jazz. So I'm super excited. It's going to be a lot of fun. But another Best Picture Showdown in the books. So thank you guys for listening, and come back on Wednesday for Night of the Living Dead.